Okay, I'd just like to start off by saying I did look into LSD blackouts, and I didn't find too much about it, but I did find one case of some Army Sergeant Jim Stanley in the late 50s was given LSD without his knowledge, apparently. And it said that he did, he remembers doctors telling him about his rampage through the Edgewood Barracks. So this is an example of somebody who didn't know that they were on LSD. So you could kind of expect something like that could possibly happen. Be very frightening. Now for me, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I did black out in a bathtub. I know I mentioned that. I thought it was maybe 90 minutes to 2 hours, but I think it could have even been longer. I just didn't want to exaggerate, but it seems like it almost could have been like 2.5 hours or something. It seemed like it was a long time. I could probably look into my playlist and add up the times of all the songs or something, but I really haven't bothered to do that. Now, I don't think there's any chance of drowning in the bathtub while you're on LSD. I don't think that I was all that far gone. I was thinking if a smoke detector went off, it would probably just be within 10 seconds I'd be able to come around and know what was going on. I don't think it would be more than 10 seconds. So there have been some comments that people have left about marijuana, and so far the only thing I've said about marijuana is that you can't really make a comparison between LSD and marijuana, especially the taking progressively more. With marijuana, it's just smoking more. You just basically get higher and higher, stoner and stoner. But with LSD, you can start getting new effects, and considerably more frightening effects is what you have to keep in mind. So it's quite different in that regard. It's much more sensitive to the dosage. The dosage is much more sensitive with LSD. So someone said the last few times I smoked weed I had horrible highs, anxiety. I could just imagine how bad my trip would be if I took LSD. Well, then someone responds and says, then you weren't smoking pot. Pot makes you very relaxed and brings you down. It does not make you anxious. Check the kind of weed you're smoking. It's most likely laced with another drug. No, I don't think so. First of all, I guess when you're talking about LSD or marijuana, you have to understand what the definition of paranoid is. I meant to look in a dictionary before I did this video, but I didn't. But I assume the primary definition is delusions of persecution. So when you're talking about paranoia, literally, I would say you're talking about delusions. Now, I have heard that marijuana can cause psychosis. And I've heard that they've even tracked it down to a specific gene that makes you more likely to have this problem. But generally, I would say I've smoked a lot of marijuana, and it didn't make me psychotic at all. But it does generally make me feel self-conscious. And I think that a psychedelic can make you feel self-conscious also. Now, probably when people talk about paranoia, that's the self-consciousness is really what they're talking about, a lot of it. Another thing that can happen on marijuana that happens on a psychedelic is that you may think of new possibilities. So in the process of thinking of new possibilities, some of them may make you suspicious. Now, on marijuana, whenever I really looked into what are these things that I'm getting suspicious about, what are these things I'm worried about, well, part of it you have to understand is that it's illegal. So naturally, if you're in public or something like that, you're worried about maybe the police will smell it or see you smoking it or something. So you have that sort of cultural aspect where if it wasn't illegal, maybe you'd feel differently. You know? But I think that it would heighten sort of self-consciousness. So you get that intrinsically with marijuana. When I've looked into what it is I'm getting paranoid about, it's sort of just as kind of ridiculous, something that's ridiculous. It's just kind of funny. It's not really, I'm not really all that concerned. So I can see both these commenters. I can understand what they're saying. I can understand the anxiety that marijuana can cause, and I also understand the fact that it does relax you. I used to always try to quit smoking pot, and then the reason I'd go back to smoking it is because usually it was like a supervisor would be hassling me or something like that, and I'd just be like, yeah, I can't take this anymore. Maybe I wouldn't have been smoking for like 9 months or something like that. Typically, that's how long I could quit for. Probably be about the average duration. Once I really quit, once I got beyond like a couple of days or something like that. But then I go back to smoking it, and I'd be like, you know, what is it that I like so much about this? And it seemed to be, you go from being in a state of being like really pissed off, like your pride has been hurt. That's how I would feel, like my pride had been hurt. And then you start, after smoking marijuana, you sort of see things like, these people are making asses of themselves. And it's almost funny. So it totally changes your outlook on things. So there's that relaxation. I don't think self-consciousness is such a big issue if you're alone. I'm often alone when I'm smoking pot. So, but yeah, I would say generally some people think marijuana makes people paranoid. I mean, I think that's safe to say, but I don't mean a delusional type of paranoia. So I didn't really get into talking about marijuana, trying to gauge it against your how you're going to feel about LSD, because I see it as being difficult, because it does have that sort of self-conscious feeling that you get when you smoke it, and I couldn't say how you could use that in making a decision. You are a lot better off of having smoked marijuana, probably. Then again, I wouldn't suggest that people smoke it because it is very psychologically addictive. I have been very psychologically addictive to it for most of my adult life. So that's one of the reasons. That's another reason why I'm not really that thrilled about talking about it, because it's not really clear where to come down on it. But if you really don't like marijuana, you're probably not going to like LSD. But I guess you sort of have to talk it over with your friends and see, what is their reaction to it. I think that you'll find that, people generally get some self-conscious feelings from smoking marijuana, and it could be described as being paranoid. But, it also goes the other way. It also can be very relaxing. So I guess there was another comment about marijuana here. Yeah. Someone's saying that they get paranoid if you get paranoid on weed. Once again, I mean, I can't really say how LSD is going to affect you just because you get paranoid on weed. It's not really clear. I mean, marijuana and LSD went hand in hand in the 60s and 70s. You know, people seem to like them. They seem to go together well. I don't really see a lot of sense in smoking marijuana when you're tripping. It just doesn't seem to have that much of an effect on me.